All right, we're all set now. So, here, everyone, let me begin by telling you what our agenda here is today. So, we'll first measure your current ability. As I said, every journey depends on where we are starting. So, we'll give you four 700 plus level questions, hard questions, and that'll tell us where we stand right now. Then you will get feedback on this current conceptual ability that you have. So these are hard questions, right? 700 plus level. It's not just about concepts when questions are hard. It's also about how you apply those concepts. So we will give you feedback in the second leg, which is around 15 minutes, feedback on your current conceptual ability. If you don't have the right concepts, an application is a thing that's really far yet. Then will come where you will improve your process skills. So as I said, when you know concepts, that's the first stage, but it's the most important stage. It's the foundation. It's what your entire journey is going to be based on. It's like you learn A, B, C, you learn the alphabet. That's like building your concepts. After that, you learn to string those letters into words. You start to write bat, cat, mat. That application of the concepts, you need process skills for that. So this section here, we will improve your process skills. Together with concepts and process skills, you get ready for any kind of question. I'll also tell you how expert AI on the e-GMAT platform will help you improve your ability. You need to identify at every stage the exact thing that you have to work on, right? So you get feedback throughout because of this expert AI that we have. And then you will continue improving your process skills because once you have identified it, you will know what to improve, right? So this entire journey here, all of these steps together are needed to take you to your GMAT success. Now, as I said, we are going to begin with four 700 plus level questions. The very first one that I'm going to bring here is a data sufficiency question. I am going to bring a poll here, as you just see. Here you will have 5 choices. Let me open the poll. All right. I'll just resize this. So right now you can see some results, some votes. This is how you will be able to see your results once I broadcast them. But of course, while we will be solving the questions, I will keep this hidden. Right now you see this last choice here, which is called still solving. This is what you mark before I even show you a question. This is going to tell me how many people are actively participating in the session. So based on the time that those active participants take to solve any question, that's how much time I'm going to give you guys, and after that we will start discussing. So here I'm going to clear the answers and I am going to just open the poll. Please mark still solving and let's see how many people are ready for this. Very good. That's a quick increase of numbers. A few more people. Come on. The more actively you engage, the more you're going to take away from the session today. I promise. All right. Thank you. Here we go. Here's the first question, everyone. Good luck. I'm going to end the poll in another 15 seconds. Please make sure you mark your answers before then. We should at least have an attempt by you. All right, thank you everyone for your votes. I have recorded the responses that we have here. Now I'm going to show you the second version of this question itself. So you'll see a small change in this. I'm going to open the poll again. Just mark still solving to show me you're ready. That one should not take as much time because you'll see it's just a modification. All right, here you go. Good luck. Ending the poll in 10 seconds. Please mark your answers. Alright, so I've taken a screenshot now. Again, I know how you guys voted on this one. Let's go to the third question. Good luck. ending the poll in another 10 seconds. Please mark your answers. All right, we have answers now. I'm going to clear this poll, and again, you just have to mark still solving to tell me you're ready for the final one. This is going to be the fourth hard question. The first two were versions of the same question. The third and the fourth questions were different. Okay, I see some people marking B, C, D, E. Please mark still solving. You don't even have the question. How do you know it's B, C, D? Just mark the option at the end. Yes. All right, thank you. Here is the last hard question for you. Good luck. ending the poll in the next 10 seconds. Okay, and we're done. So now that all of you saw these hard questions, these 4 questions, come in the chat box and tell me how you feel about them. Did you feel confident when you were doing them, or were they all just super difficult? No idea. How did you feel about them? I'm reading all of your comments here. Difficult. Okay. Super difficult. No idea. Okay, one person says yes, very confident. But majority, as we all read here, is saying that these were very difficult. I'm just going to broadcast this so you can all read what everyone is writing. Yes, just check this out. Difficult, super difficult, can't solve them within appropriate time. Yeah. Question STEM was tough, need a lot of work to become proficient. That's good. It's good to realize that we need work somewhere, because otherwise we might be just working in the wrong places, right? All right. This is good. Great. So now that you began with these and you found these very difficult, just remember this. At the end of the session, I'll ask you again how you felt about these questions. If your thought about these changes, we will all have a successful session by then. You will all go happy after the session. You will know that you've made progress. All right, now this, of course, is the level till which we are going to prepare you. This is not where we are starting, right? So this was for starters. You could now diagnose where you are. We are going to start at the base level. That's how you start learning. As I said, you build the foundation first. You learn your ABCs first, and then comes application. So this is where you are at the base level, the foundation level. So I'm going to ask you a couple of concept related questions now. They're going to be purely conceptual, no applications, no hard stuff, no translation, no inference, nothing. If you know the concepts, you'll be able to do them. Otherwise, you'll at least know which concepts you lag on. All right. So here now you have your first question. What you have to do is select all of the statements that are true. I'll tell you how you're going to mark your answer for this one. I'll bring in another poll. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that short delay. Here you see in this, there are 8 statements. You have to mark all of the ones that you think are true. I hope everybody understood the question. 8 statements here. Mark the ones that you think are true. You can mark more than one statements. Of course, you mark everything that you think is true. I'm going to open the poll now. Good luck. All right, I'm going to end this in 5 more seconds. Please mark all of the statements that you think are true. And we're done. The next question that you're going to see, we'll discuss them together. The next question that you're going to see is very similar. You're again going to see statements and you have to mark the ones that you think are true. Okay, so here is the next one. Good luck. Okay, ending this in 5 seconds. Come on, if you missed anything, fill it up. And I've ended it. Okay, now these were pure conceptual questions. Let's discuss these one by one. So here is the first question that you had, along with the results this time, and I'm also going to broadcast how you people voted. So check out the poll that you see on the right hand side. You see we had 28% people say the first one is true, 21% votes came to the second one, and so on. Now the result that you see on screen is that no statement is true except the eighth one. That was the only one which was true, and just see what the eighth one really was. That no statement is correct. Which means all of these here, all of these are wrong. They're not definitely true statements. I only have 30% votes for the eighth statement. But I don't know how many of you marked with the eighth statement some other statement, because that's going to just pollute it. If somebody marks eighth that no statement is correct, then I hope that was the only statement they marked. So you see, this is when it's a conceptual problem. This is where you've missed something. And that's why, of course, questions have to feel difficult. They will feel difficult. Now, just read the instruction that you see here on the side. Count the number of statements you selected, each one of you. Count the number of statements that you selected, except statement 8. That's the correct one. We want to really understand how many of the incorrect statements you counted. Tell me in the chat box, honestly, tell me how many really did you select out of the first 7? 3, 2, 3, okay, 1. There are zeros also, so these are the people who got it correct. Okay, 3, 3, 4. All right. So all of you then, the ones who got things wrong, you know you have conceptual gaps, right? This is the first level of feedback that you're getting about your concepts. I'm also going to show you what happens about the second one. Then we're going to discuss this in detail. So here now, I'll just broadcast, 1 second, the results from the second statement. Okay, you can see the results. And this is what it was supposed to be. All the statements are true except the eighth one. The eighth one, which really said that nothing is true, that's the only thing that's wrong. What that really means is that all of the first 7 statements were correct. Again, count the number of statements you selected and tell me in the chat box. How many of these did you get? Okay, 7, 7, 6. All right, when we have a 3, that means we missed a lot of them. 2, okay, big misses. 6. All right, good. So again, make a note of that as well. You have 2 numbers now in your notebook. You should have 1 number for how many you marked from the first question and 1 number about how many you marked in the second question. Get ready for some feedback that we're now going to give you on your conceptual understanding based on these 2 special questions. Here now, for question 1, if you chose none of those 7 incorrect statements and you chose all 7 statements in question 2, then you are in group A. Group A basically got everything correct. Group B is when you selected 0, 1 or 2 statements in the first one. You just have your counts, right? You just have to see which group you're in. I'm just showing you how we're doing the classification. And make sure you see the and here. And the statements for question 2 are greater than equal to 3 or more. Then you're in group B. This now, everything else is in group C. You all now must have the exact group that you belong to. I hope everybody managed to get the group. Type in the chat box just so I understand that you have your groups now. Okay, good. So you've understood how we're doing the classification. Now I'm going to give you feedback based on the group that you were in. So let's start with group A. So everybody who's in group A, listen carefully. You have good conceptual understanding. There's no need to review concept files because you've proven that you have all of that conceptual understanding. Congratulations, you have the first step done. You're ready to move to the process skill block. As I said, process skill is where you apply. So you people, everybody in group A, you know your ABCs very well. It's just time for you to go to stringing them into words, your bat and cat and mat. So good job, everyone from group A. Group B now. There are some gaps in your conceptual understanding because you did not make too many mistakes, but you did make mistakes. So there are gaps. The statements that you marked incorrectly, they'll tell you exactly which properties you need to strengthen. It is that granular. The 2 questions that I showed you, they list so many properties that exactly the ones that you marked incorrectly, you know that is what you need to work on. You revise just those from the concept file Quadrilaterals. So why I'm saying all of this, just see how you can already feel the course being tailor-made for you, customized for you. You know what you're eligible to skip, you know what you have to do, and you know how much you have to do. So for group A, there was nothing from the concept files. For group B, there are some concepts that you see from the questions. And from group C, all other combinations, you need to build conceptual clarity. There are gaps that need to be filled before you think about application. Now this group will have to do the entire concept file on Quadrilaterals. The content that we have is for everyone. Group A, B, C. It's just that how much of the content you have to do based on where you're starting. This way, nobody is wasting time. Nobody is doing things that that person does not have to do. It's not that you have 20 files, so you have to do 20 files whether or not you need it. If you need it, do them. If you don't do them. And it's not something that you're deciding according to what you feel like doing. The system is giving you this beautiful feedback at every stage. Now this was a glimpse into the kind of feedback you get in Quant 2.0. You can get even more refined feedback in Quant 2.0 using the fine-grained concept diagnostics in each module. So what I mean is, let me show you this. This is a snip of how any module looks like in the course. So look closely. This is a module, module number 3, 2D2 it's called. Okay, now in this, look at file 3.1. It's called GMAT Skills Diagnostic Quiz. This is the first quiz you attempt. This is really diagnosing how ready you are for GMAT as a whole. This is not just concepts, okay? This is proper GMAT style questions. Then you have another quiz, the very next one, 3.2, which is just a concept diagnostic quiz. So this one is only going to diagnose whether you have any gaps in your concepts or not. Okay, so two stages, two types of diagnostics for you. This is very, very important because say you do not do well in 3.1, but you do very well in 3.2. What does that tell you? Tell me, what do you guys think it'll tell you? Come in the chat box and tell me. You do very well in concepts, but you don't do well in a GMAT style quiz. What do you think is the problem then? This has to make sense to you. Let's see how many of you can understand this. Time, okay, that could be one thing. Application, absolutely. Even when we know our concepts, if we don't know the application of those concepts, we are going to mess up on the first one. Now suppose you do poorly on both of them. Then of course you have to start right from concepts. Then there's no way you're straight away going to your processes, to application. Now check this box out here. When you do a diagnostic quiz, you get feedback like this. This is a table that you see. It says questions 1 to 4, your quiz results. If you get everything correct, all correct, you may skip C1. C1 means the first concept. You may skip it. This is where you see concept 1. May, because we can't say just skip it. If you want to do it, of course you can do it. At least one question if you got incorrect, then you have to do C1. That's the level of feedback. Not even for all of the concepts at once. We're going to tell you which concepts exactly you have to do and you can skip. For example, questions 5 through 10, if 5 through 7, if you get everything correct, well, you're eligible to skip C2 and C3 as well. But if you get even one thing incorrect, you have to do this. Look at this. This is the way you get your results. You see it's 7 questions here. Now for this particular student, everybody look at this. What do you think this feedback means for him? Which concepts does he have to do? Look at these two things together. Think of yourself. Think of this as your results. Which concepts do you have to do and which one, if at all, are you eligible to skip? Okay, you're telling me the ones we have to do. C1, I get 2 answers for C1. Okay, what about the others? What do you think? Which concepts do I have to do based on this feedback? Do C1, skip 2 and 3. Good. I'm very interested to see, I'm very happy to see how you people are reading data. It's a good skill in the MBA world, huh? So you're well prepared already. So we see here in 1 through 4, the first 4, which the first slab of feedback is about, he has to do C1. And since everything in 5 through 7 is correct, he's eligible to skip C2 and C3. That's the level of feedback you get. Now for now, let's do a concept recap. I hope everybody understood the importance of feedback and how that helps us narrow down what to do, what not to do. So it personalizes the course for you. Now I'm going to help you with some recap because some of us had conceptual gaps, some of us did not have conceptual gaps based on those 2 questions that we saw. So let's recap a few properties. These are properties about the sides of these 5 figures. In a trapezium, also known as a trapezoid, you have one pair of opposite sides parallel. So here AB is parallel to CD. In a parallelogram though, both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. So AB is parallel to CD, AD is parallel to BC. In fact, they're also equal in length. In a rhombus, all 4 sides are equal in length, but yet again, Just like a parallelogram, its opposite sides are parallel. So both pairs of opposite sides are parallel and all sides are equal. It's like this additional property after you come from a parallelogram. The additional property is that instead of just opposite sides being equal, all the sides are equal. Okay? A rectangle now. This is another special parallelogram. Yet again, it'll have every property of a parallelogram. Opposite sides being parallel, opposite sides being equal. The additional property is that these angles that you see here, they're all equal. So technically, if you just read this much, it's the same content that you read here for parallelogram. So the differentiating factor you're going to see when I talk about angles as well. Let's look at that. A trapezium has no properties about angles. A parallelogram only has opposite angles equal. But as I said, the special version, the rectangle, has all four angles equal. They're all 90 degrees. A square now is a special parallelogram again, or you can say it's a special rhombus, since all four sides in a rhombus were anyway equal. The added property is that here, instead of just having opposite angles equal, you again have all angles equal to 90 degrees. These are properties about sides and angles. Third thing I'll show you is about their diagonals. So a trapezoid does not have any special properties about diagonals, nor did it have any properties about angles. As you see, it's a dash here. Diagonals of a parallelogram, they're not equal, but they bisect each other. So AC, as you can see in this figure, is definitely shorter than BD. So they're not equal. But bisecting each other just means that they divide each other into two equal parts. A rhombus, again, the diagonals are not equal. They do bisect each other even now, though, with an added property. Added compared to what a parallelogram had. That this time the diagonals are also going to be perpendicular. A rectangle now, both diagonals are equal. This is the length. You get that through Pythagoras theorem. A square, both diagonals are equal, and since a square is a special rhombus, the diagonals are also perpendicular to each other. Finally, these are the formulas for the area and the perimeters of each of these. Look at these here. Trapezium, half into sum of the parallel sides multiplied by the height. This is base into height. This is half into product of the diagonals. This is length into width, and this is the square of the side. Perimeter now is easy. You don't really need to memorize anything. It's just the sum of all of the sides. Okay, now here, this is, I hope, a good refresher of all the properties here that you were messing up on. Tell me in the chat box, do you feel better about this now already, that you've seen these properties? Have you been able to identify where you were lacking? Good. I like that. Yes. Streak. Good. Okay, so everybody feels better now that I've gone over everything once. Now, this was just me doing it in 5-6 minutes. The concept files, when you go through them, you will come out super confident on the other side of a concept file. Now then, it's time to build our application skills, our process skills. So look at the skills here mentioned. Infer is when you infer something, when you take out the meaning of something, whatever is given to you. Say, I've given you that x is divisible by 2. I'm going away from geometry for a second, but come in the chat box and tell me, if I say x is divisible by 2, what can you infer? What can you tell about x? Any property? Yes, x is an even number. You just made an inference right there. Similarly, I could have given you that x is an even number. Then if divisibility was what I had to discuss, then I would say, okay, then it's divisible by 2. If it's odd, it's not divisible by 2. That's what inference is. So every piece of information that you get in the question or something that comes to you during solving a question, you take out as much as you can from it. Don't jump to the next piece of information. Keep that point in your mind when we go to our questions after this, okay? Next is translate. The name is pretty explanatory. It's self-explanatory. What you have here is there is something given in English. You have to change it to math. Let me just say something, okay? I'm going to say a statement. All of you just change that to math. So x is 3 more than twice y? Come into the chat box. X is 3 more than twice y. I have just used English. You change it to math. I'll repeat one more time. X is 3 more than twice y. Okay, we have the perfect one here. X is equal to 2y plus 3. Very good. So there, what did you do? You just translated what I said in English to math. This way, if there's any question in the world, no matter how many sentences it seems to have, you'll never be intimidated because you have to read one sentence, change it to math, solve it. That way, things keep getting simple as you go on. Visualize now is the skill where you try to visualize what is given in the question. Say I say there's a square in which there's a circle and then there's a triangle inside of that and then there's a square inside of that. It's just crazy to keep all of that in your head. But it's so much better if you draw that out. It's a geometry thing and I draw the figure out. It's a very important skill in geometry. But it's useful other places as well. You know, sometimes there is something given and you feel like writing examples because that makes you understand what is it that is happening here. Writing examples, making tables, making diagrams, figures, that's all visualize. Manipulate now. Manipulate is when you work with some mathematical expression to get it into the format that you want to see. For example, I say that I have x plus 5. But I want to see it as something which is dash plus 1. Then x plus 5 can always be written as x plus 4 plus 1. What did I do? I manipulated my x plus 5 and rewrote it as x plus 4 plus 1. You can always do that based on the needs of a question. Simplify is when you simplify what you have before you go on. Whatever you have, simplify. Don't keep it in messy forms. For example, I tell you, everyone try this out. I say 2x plus 3y is odd. What can you tell me here? Can you simplify this at all? 2x plus 3y is odd. Any inference you can make based on which you can simplify the statement I'm giving you. 2x plus 3y is odd. Okay, I'll wait 5 seconds. Y is odd. Okay, what happened here was 2x was anyway not contributing. Because if 2 itself is an even number, then 2x has to be even. What are we even doing then? So really 2x plus 3y odd just means 3y is odd. 2x is not doing anything. So I simplified what I had through an inference. But simplification independently is also a process skill. You'll see that when we do questions. Constraints now. There are constraints given in the question. You have to be very careful about them. For example, a question says that x is a positive integer and then your final answer comes out to be 0 or 2. Then don't mark 0. They're telling it's positive, right? You reject 0 and then 2 becomes your final answer. So that way, if we don't read the constraint given in the question, we are going to get it wrong. We will feel, okay, there are two values, 0 or 2, I can't tell the value, and you might mark the wrong answer. Be careful about whatever is given in the question. Finally, consider all cases. Another small example now that we're anyway on to even and odd. Say x multiplied by y is even. What do you think about x and y? X multiplied by y is even. Tell me whatever you can tell me about x and y. Again, 5 seconds. Okay, x or y is even. Either of x and y is even. X or y, either both or one is even. Well, that's the prettiest way to say it. Either both of them or one of them is even. So there are so many cases, you see. X even, y odd, x odd, y even, x even, y even. There are 3 cases. Every time you're doing a question, make sure you consider all cases there are. You miss one case and you fall into a trap, you get the answer wrong. The exam is super smart. It knows what are the cases that people typically miss. Okay, be very careful. So this was an introduction to process skills. So many of you, I'm sure, already knew about this, but the clarity that you got now, I'm not sure if you had that earlier. Use all of this beautiful knowledge you got and apply it in the very next question that I'm going to show you. Okay, I'm going to bring in the poll again. So you know what you have to do now. You have to mark still solving to show me you're ready for this one. Okay, 1 second. It's a process skill question now. Okay. The moment I open the poll, please mark still solving. Let's see the energy. Okay, come on, more and more people participate in this. Good. Okay, here's your first question. Good luck. Ending the poll in 10 seconds. Please mark your answers. Okay, now we're going to discuss these one question at a time. So here, I just broadcast the results. Just see how you people voted for this one. The majority went with choice B. 52% votes came for B. 9% for A, 6% for C, 12% for E, nothing for D. 21% people stayed in the still solving block. Please make sure if you're running out of time, you mark your answer any which way. Think of this as an actual exam. In the exam, you'll be more heavily penalized if you don't attempt a question. It's worse than getting it wrong. Okay, so mark your answers. Now here, let's read this together. Area of square ABCD is equal to area of rectangle PQRS. So you have two shapes here. You have a square, you have a rectangle. The areas are equal. The length of rectangle PQRS is 21% more than the breadth. So there's some percentage relationship. What's the ratio of perimeter ABCD to PQRS? Now here, this is a question where I was saying if you don't visualize and if you read the whole question in one breath, it just intimidates you. It confuses you. You don't understand what to do with which information. So how I would attempt any question is read just the first line. Area of square ABCD is equal to PQRS. I would just draw these two things out. For example, here you have it. This is the square, this is the rectangle. The length of PQRS, the rectangle, is 21% more than its breadth. So here I have B as the breadth and A as the length. And this is my square with side S. Then comes whatever the question was, the ratio of something to something. Let's try to understand this question piece by piece. You see something highlighted. I've highlighted the piece where there was a percentage relationship. So the length of rectangle PQRS, 21% more than the breadth. Which relationship do you think this is? Write down in the chat box. Let me see how many of you get this correct. This is the first step, by the way. This is where it begins. 5, 4, 4, 4. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm so happy to see most of you here have 4. In fact, the 1, 5 I think also went. Maybe it was an accidental mark. So 4 it is. Good. A is 21% more than B. It just means A is 121% of B. So that makes it 1.21B. So everyone who did this, you aced the first step correctly. People who were stuck here, people who made a mistake, you already know where you faltered. Now this way, I'm writing about the square. The length is S, the width is also S. Of course, all sides are equal. The rectangle now, we just discussed that we don't have to call it A. We can just express that in terms of B as well. Now, what is the information really? There is something that I'm asked about the perimeters, but there's something I'm given about their areas. So of course, I'll first use what I'm given. I'll see what all I can infer from that. So what is the area of each of them? For a square, square of the side. For a length, it's length times width. This is the area. Now they've told us that the areas are equal. So you just put these equal. This is the highlighted part that we just used. So you translated this English. Area of ABCD is equal to area of PQRS into this. It's a simple mathematical equation. And now this we'll see what we can get from this, because this is S squared, 1.21B squared. If you take the square root on both sides, you get S is 1.1B. Now here there was a little calculation involved in getting the square root of 1.21 as 1.1. This little understanding you have to have. I would suggest you memorize the squares of positive integers till 20. Because that way you would see, okay, 11 squared is 121, and then therefore 1.1 would make it 1.21. So that's a good thing to have memorized. Now with this, I have some relationship between the side of A, of the square, and the side of the rectangle. The question, as you know, is about the perimeter. So let's write down the perimeters then. Now here, you see why we've rejected this though? Because when you take the square root, say I take the square root of x squared equal to 4, then x is technically plus minus 2. That way, here also s was also 1.1b or minus 1.1b. But why am I rejecting the second one? Because sides are positive. This is a constraint. This is an obvious constraint really. Because of it being a side, you reject it. If it was any normal algebra question, you had to take it for sure. So here then we choose this one. This is, I've highlighted it in green to show this is the chosen one. Finally, time for the perimeter. Perimeter of the square, well, that's just 4s, which is 4 times 1.1b. That's the relationship we just got. Perimeter of the rectangle, you add all of the sides, or you can say it's 2 times length plus width. This gives it to you in terms of b. Because if you want a ratio and you want to cancel out the variable has to be a single variable. Because otherwise perimeter here is s, and here in the rectangle there's a and there's b, but now we've used all of the relationships we had to get everything in terms of b. And then therefore we could cancel this out, and the correct answer is choice B. So the majority is correct. I'm happy to see 52% of you correct in this one, but 48% of us got this wrong. I would love for you people to write down in the chat box which was the step that you faltered at. I hope you understood this. First of all, tell me the exact step that you faltered at. If you marked C, as I see 6% people having done, you just took the inverse ratio. You took rectangle to square instead of square to rectangle. That's a big problem. You didn't translate it properly. The translation here of this English to math would have told you it's ABCD to PQRS. Okay, so simple basic mistake, taking the square root of 1.21. That's where you made a mistake. What about the others? What about all of those people who marked none of the above? Was it because you didn't get any of these? Because of the calculation mistake again? Because that's where I see most of the people stay after B. Of course, we have votes for A as well. So it's important that you figure out where you faltered. Without identification, trust me, there's no way you will be able to get over these mistakes. You have to know what are the mistakes. How are you going to correct them? Now, tell me if you feel confident about this one. Because now you're going to apply the skill that you built in this one. You saw multiple skills here. Translation, visualization, translation again, constraints. You saw all of that here. With this enhanced ability now, all of you have gotten better with this. I'm going to take you to another question. But tell me in the chat box first, do you feel confident about this one now? Okay, we have one yes. Come on, let's have a little more energy here. Okay, good. Yes, yes, yes. That's nice. Perfect. All right, so now then, you have to apply this enhanced skill on 700 plus level questions. What I'm going to show you now, just look at this question. What is the cost to fence a rectangular plot at a certain thing? And if the length of the plot is increased by 10 meters, this is a data sufficiency question. Just observe that the statements have similar language. Here you have 10 meters. Here you have 10%. You just have to be very careful when you're translating all of this to math. Every time you get trapped into something like this, as you just saw, translation is such an important skill. You have to be very careful. Is it a percentage? Is it a proper increase? Translate very carefully. Apply a DS process diligently. That's again a big reason why people falter. They just don't keep the statements separate. They just mix things. You know, you have to be very careful. This is just a quick recap of how you should do it. You should start with your question statement, properly analyze it, exactly find out what you have to look at. The question in the end always asks something, what is this, or find that. Keep it in front of you. This is what I have to find. Then only and only look at statement 1. If it gets you your answer alone, eliminate BCE. These 3 choices are out. But if statement 1 doesn't give it to you, eliminate AD. Then forget about statement 1. Go to statement 2. If this also gives your answer, eliminate choices appropriately. It just depends on what you're left with after step 2. If nothing gives you the answer alone, try them together. If they work together, C. If they don't work together, E. Okay, so I've just given you a recap of the exact process that you follow on a TS question. It is possible that something that you got wrong right now was because of a thing like this. Now, the percentage question, the question that I just talked about, was the first one that you had solved. I'm going to show that to you again. Here, this is the first question that you solved today. The first 700 plus level question, right? Now here, let me tell you how you people had voted. So the results I had the majority with C, although it was a very small majority. I'll tell you the exact percentages once we discuss this one. Okay, let's do this together. I'll show you how it's all about knowing the concepts and your process skills. Let's read. What is the cost to fence a rectangular plot at $20 per meter? Here's a question for you. Which property of a rectangle do you think you need for cost of the perimeter? This is where it begins. If you got confused in the beginning, then of course it has to get harder. Okay, perimeter. I got one answer, two answers, perimeter, perimeter. Good, yes, that is it. Because it only talks about $20 a meter, and it also talks about fencing something. When you're fencing, you're at the boundary, you're at the border, right? So that is about perimeter. So good. Now, fence is boundary, which is perimeter, and the cost is how much? $20 per meter, which means you just find your perimeter first and then multiply that by 20. That's how many dollars it's going to be. So really what I need, the cost for that, what I really need is the perimeter. That's it. So this is how we identify what is it that we need to calculate. Okay, so we need to calculate the perimeter. And how are you going to get that? Well, either you get A and B both, because then you can put them here, or somehow if you don't even get A or B separately, you just manage to get the sum through some statement, of course, then that'll also be good enough for you. So this understanding is super important, because suppose a statement can give you A plus B as 10 and you just reject it because you didn't get A and B separately. Who cares about what they are separately? Focus on this. So any of these two things would work for you. Then statement number 1. We had this, the length of the plot, which is A right now. If the length of the plot is increased by 10 meters, the area increases by 100. Now answer this one here. Come on, everyone. What information does this statement provide? Can it give you both A, B? Does it give you an equation? Does it give you A? What does it give to you? Value of B. Okay, we have 2 votes for A. Sorry, for the fourth statement, value of B. More people? Yes, B, B. 2. So a linear equation with A and B. We have 1 vote for that. Again, another 2. More 2s. This is where you people faltered then. Okay, let me explain what exactly you're going to get and then tell me where you faltered. So length is increased by 10. So if the length originally was A, it's now A plus 10. The width has not been changed. It's only the length that you're talking about. The areas, AB first and then A plus 10 times B. This is the new area. We know the area increased by 100. So that means the new area is the original area plus 100. We put that in the mathematical form because you know what new and old were. So A plus 10 is the new one, A plus 10 times B. The old one is AB. Put that in the equation and AB gets cancelled out. The only thing you have is that 10B is 100. You get the value of B. So all those people who said you get a linear equation in A and B, you did not simplify this equation then. Maybe you just stopped here. Maybe you never multiplied these two things inside to get in this form. That is an important process skill. Simplification. Use what you have, try to simplify things, and that's how you'll see stuff. So you were gone right in the beginning, right? Okay, so this one gives you B, it gives you nothing about A, so this is not sufficient. 9% of us who marked A, there is something in this that you messed up on. Either, of course, as I asked questions, and I think the people who made a mistake were the exact people who wrote that you get a linear equation. But this statement is not sufficient. For people who found it sufficient, write down in the chat box while I go on. Tell me where you faltered. Let me take you all to statement number 2 now. Again, I'm going to break this down. Okay, this is percentage something this time. Length is decreased by 10%, width is increased by 10%, perimeter decreases by 5%. It's all percentage. This one, when you solved, go through your notes, go through where you solved the question. Tell me, what did you get? What did you get about the new width if the width is increased by 10%? Let me clear these answers. 1 second. Okay, tell me, which one is it? Okay, we have 1 vote for the 4th option. Another one. Okay, good. So this is actually very similar. We had seen this in the question that we just discussed. When you increase something by a percentage, 10% increase means it becomes 110% of what it was. And if you could do it with the width, of course you could do it with the length, and you could do it with the perimeter. That's why I asked one thing here, to make sure that you're doing the right thing. Now this is how you needed to write everything. See it on a table. Length, width, originally A and B. Now, if the length decreased by 10%, it's now just 90% of what it was. So that's 0.9a. While the width is 1.1b, as we just discussed. And since it also talks about the perimeter, that's what I'm going to write next. So these are the perimeters, 2 times length plus width, the 2 perimeters. But it decreases by 5% means that the new one is 5% less than the original one. So the new one is 95% of the original one because of the decrease. And then in place of new, you write this. In place of the original one, you write this. You solve your equation, and this time you get a relationship between A and B. This time you did not get the value of any one of them, and nor did you get A plus B, by the way. You were okay with that as well. Look at this up top. Either I get A and B separately, or I get A plus B. This one did not give me any of that. So this is insufficient. Now, B. So many of you, let me again see how you guys had voted. I had 11% votes for B. 11% people thought that the second statement alone was not sufficient. So you were wrong. You made a mistake somewhere. We have a comment. I found C, although I didn't simplify statement 1 to find B. I found C. Where did you find C? What is C? Okay, I hope everybody is clear till here. Each of the statements we've seen were insufficient alone. Now it's super easy to combine this. This one gave you B. This one gave you the relationship between A and B. You just put the value of B here, and you're going to get A. That's the only unknown then. So you can find A. Don't even put in any energy in actually trying to find it, okay? But you can find it. So the correct answer to this is choice C. Now 36% people had voted for C. A very small majority. 7%, as I said, A. 11% B. 5% D. And 23% E. That means 23% of you could come to the stage that these are not sufficient, but you could not combine it. How? Yeah, you can't see the poll. I'm reading out the result. I'm telling that the accuracy on this one was 36%. 23% went on E. That means despite doing all of that, in the end, you missed it. So tell me, how do you feel about this question now? Whatever were the mistakes, you can see you're working, you can see how you had solved it in your notebook. What was the stage where you faltered? These are precisely the things that go in an error log. You write down what are the errors you've made. Time to think carefully. Time. Okay, another one for time. What else? Was it only time? I don't think so. 36% is a really, really low accuracy. Too much data. Okay, too much data. So this intimidated you. Did you translate it statement by statement? Tell me honestly. Or did you read the whole thing and let it scare you? Did not simplify in statement A. I rushed through it. Yes. I did not combine both. Okay. Now all of this that you're saying, it's super important. Because if you know what you did once, if you understand the reason, then next time you have a much better chance of coming out of it successfully. How much time needed? Well, this would not take very long. This would definitely take under 2 minutes. It's the explanation that takes long, not doing it. I didn't solve statements completely. I thought it will give me B. Then I formed equation in statement 2, knowing B can be replaced here. Is that the right way to go? Yeah, of course. You don't solve the combined statements together. I said that here, that you can find the value of A. Don't even solve the whole thing. I did it correctly, but I think luck factor was at play. That's very nice, very honest of you. Okay, good. This identification is very important. Remember this. Every question that we're discussing, use it to find out something more about yourself. Okay? Now let me take you to the next one. Question 1, this was the second version you did. Okay, try this out one more time. I'm going to discuss this. Let me bring in a new poll. One second. Okay. So this is a retake of the second question. The poll is open. Good luck. Ending the poll in 5 seconds. This one was really quick. You people responded very quickly. Okay. The poll is now closed. I'll show you how you voted. Here you go. So see how the majority, very small again, went with C, 35%, then 24% with A, and then 12% with D, and 6% each with B and E. So every vote has gotten, every choice has gotten votes. So I can see how even after we discuss the last one, there is still confusion. Did you rush through this one? Honestly, I had not timed you. I saw people had put in their answers, and that's why I started discussing. The last 5-second timer was because I saw so many of you turn in your answers. Did you people give it complete thought? Did you rush through it? Needed more time. Okay. Look at this. The same thing you had, really. The question was still the same. You still wanted A plus B or A and B separately, whatever would work. Statement 1, length of the plot increased by 10 meters, perimeter increases by 50%. So statement 1, length A has gone to A plus 10 because it's increased by 10 meters. Width stays the same. Perimeter, we write twice of length plus width. Relationship, perimeter increases by 50%, gave us this. Solving it, you get A plus B. You don't get A, you don't get B. So the first statement alone is sufficient. So people who marked B, people who marked C or E, all of you were wrong. Tell me where you messed up. Why did you rush into marking choice C? 35% people, the majority went for C. Tell me why you thought it's C. Why did you, or did you just think it was the same question? You marked the same answer as the last time. I really thought the answers came in really too quickly this time. I don't think you people even tried to solve this one. Yes, that's what I think. Too quick. Didn't think of solving in terms of A plus B. Why didn't you think so? That was what I discussed in the previous solution. That either I want A and B separately, or I just want A plus B because that serves the purpose. And statement 1 is giving that to you. Statement 2 then is the same. Of course, that's insufficient because it's the same as the previous question. But this time we changed the first statement. That's the only difference you had in the two versions. And this time, because it is giving you A plus B, it was sufficient. So everybody who didn't think about A plus B, you did not think about the question stem. How did this happen? Oh, so as I said, if you marked still solving, I mean, when 30% or fewer people are in still solving, that's when I start the timer. I wait for 70% of you to be done. But this seems like everybody rushed into it. So 24% people got this correct. Congratulations to you. Let's go to the next one. Just be very careful. You saw how A plus B was the one that's going to work? This one, this question shows the importance of doing a question stem analysis properly. Because otherwise you would always feel, oh, I need A and B. Oh, I need A and B. And you will call it insufficient, as you did here. Despite the fact that what we wanted only cared about A plus B. Okay, let's keep this as a good learning. I'm going to bring in a poll for the next retake question, which was the second question. The third one in our list, really. Mark still solving. Again, I'm going to base my timing on the still solving people. So if you want to influence time, mark still solving. Become an active participant. Let's have a few more votes. All right. Here is the question. Good luck. Ending the poll in the next 10 seconds. Okay. So this was your second process skill question. You did one process skill question, you saw how it connected with the first question that you'd seen, the first 700 plus level question. And now this was the second one where we will try to build some process skills. And then you'll see again how this will help you in the hard ones, okay? The ones that you saw in the beginning. So look at how you voted. The majority has gone with C. Let's see how many of you got this correct. Let's see if C is the correct answer. So let's break this. Let's discuss this part by part and see how there is a process skill at play at every single step. The length of a rectangle is 9 centimeters more than its width. The area of the rectangle is 90 centimeters squared. So area is given. What is the distance between the center of the rectangle and its vertex? So first we have to understand what is it that they're asking. The information before this was very straightforward, right? Area given, length is 9 more than width, but what is this distance we're talking about? Help me understand this and choose one option. Good. It's the third one. This is what I want. The area, the distance between the center and one of the vertices. Good. So you understand what is it that we are trying to find out. Okay. Now let's translate every piece of information. First of all, this distance, which is AO, now that I've named it, is nothing but half of the diagonal, right? The diagonal is the whole thing, AC, and you just want half of that. So that's what we're trying to look for. So you are dealing here with what? With diagonals. So retrieve all of the properties that you know about diagonals of a rectangle. What all do we know? We know the diagonals are equal. The diagonals bisect each other, not perpendicularly, but they bisect each other. These are the two properties that we know. So if I consider AC, the one of which AO is a part, if I consider AC, then I can just see that OA therefore, or AO, is half of AC. So if I'm interested in finding OA, then I really have to just get AC first, and I'll then divide it by 2. Why I'm doing this? Because finding diagonals is what we have a formula for. So if we find out AC, we'll be done. Now how do we find AC? As you know, the Pythagoras theorem, that's what you use there. So if this is P, this is Q, then P squared plus Q squared is equal to AC squared. That's what the Pythagoras theorem is. Now to find AC, you need to know P and Q, or somehow if somebody could give you P squared plus Q squared directly, that'll give you AC squared and thus AC. So this is where we've just understood what we need to find out. This is the first step you have to do. This is exactly what we did in the previous question also. You have to know what you need to find. For example, was it A or B, or was it A plus B? Those were the two things that you wanted, right? So here also now I'm very clear what is it that I have to find. I either have to find P and Q separately, which is going to work for me, or somehow if I could find P squared plus Q squared, that'll be great. Now with this understanding, let's see what else we have in the question given. The length is 9 more than the width. I haven't even used this yet. So the length is what I've called P, the width is what I've called Q. So if P is 9 more than Q, then this is what the equation is. P is equal to 9 plus Q. Now this is going to be very helpful, because instead of two variables, I'm technically only dealing with one because there's a relationship. Another thing given now is also that the area of the rectangle is 90. In terms of P and Q, I can say that means PQ. The product PQ is 90. Now see how I'm going to use both these together. This is equation 1. This is equation 2. What I'm doing is I'm just putting P, 9 plus Q, into the second equation. This is 9 plus Q times Q equal to 90. this becomes a quadratic equation in which you get one negative and one positive answer, but the negative one of course gets rejected. Your width cannot be negative. It's something that measures the length of something, has to be positive. So Q is 6. The moment you have Q, you have P from this relationship. And now since you have P and Q both, well, this is nothing. P squared plus Q squared, put in the values, it's 261. Now this is AC squared, 261. So AC is square root of 261. Now remember, we wanted OA, which was half of AC. But before that, how do I work with this? Because none of my choices directly shows me this. It's not giving me 261 square root, right? So how do I calculate this? Well, how to calculate? You can just take cues from the answer choices. That's what is always going to tell you how you will go on. What way do you have to think? So look at your choices. There's a square root of 13 in two choices. There's a square root of 29 in two choices. So there's some way in which we're simplifying this 261. That means there is something that is coming out of the square root, say this 3, 3, 3, 3, and something that is staying inside. So we try to factor this 261 and see how, is it a multiple of 13 or is it a multiple of 29? How am I getting these numbers? When you try this, you would see that 261 is nothing but 29 times 9. Right? So the square root then, the 9, square root of 9 becomes 3. So 3 comes out and you're only left with square root of 29 inside. And then you're dividing it by 2. So the correct choice is C. So the majority here did get this correct. 44% of you got this correct. But again, that means 56% got this wrong as well. Tell me in the chat box, where did you fall? No cost, try what? Okay, solving quadratic is where you faltered. Everybody tell me where you faltered. Come on. Can we, you can use trigonometry, but GMAT does not test trigonometry. But if you know that, you can do it. Q plus 9, Q minus 10, that means you factored it wrong. Didn't solve quadratic. So too many people about quadratic, huh? 3 people said they messed up on the quadratic part. Okay, that's really the majority of all the comments we have. Okay, then, well, you know that this is the part that you need to work on. This is, of course, from algebra, so you don't have to be worried from the geometry standpoint. But as you see, everything is used everywhere. Algebra is used in geometry, number properties is used in geometry. You need every single thing. So then here, as you know, the answer is C. Look at the steps. Let's summarize them. We translated the information first. What did we want? What was given? We changed it all to math. It became a very interesting set of 3 equations. Equation 1, equation 2, given information, and the third thing was about what we wanted. Then were constraints. After solving quadratics, we were able to eliminate one of the values because of the constraints. And then you use the choices to find Q's and you got your final answer. So it's many things that you saw here. This is how many process skills you applied. Now next question is going to be the third hard question you had solved. I want you all to bring in all of this learning that you got from this particular question and try it on that. So I'm going to open your poll. It's the retake of the second question. Let me just bring it back. Okay. Please mark still solving. I'll tell you this time how your votes will differ from how you voted on that hard question the first time. That'll be growth. That'll be true growth. Okay, more votes, please. Come on. I'm going to show you the question when I have a reasonable number of people ready to even solve the question. Okay, here's the one you saw. Good luck. 15 seconds before I end the poll. Okay, the poll is now closed. Let me just broadcast the results. Here you see, it's a very confused vote. 32% for B, 26 and 26 a tie between C and D, 9% for A, nothing for E. Okay, now this time therefore the majority went with B. The first time you people had voted for this, the majority was still for B. But that time it was 48%. So things have changed. Let's see though what is the correct answer. So question STEM first. In the quadrilateral ABCD, AB is 7.25. E is the intersection point of the diagonals. So here the diagonals met. Is AB greater than BC? Select the correct statement here. Tell me in the chat box. Come on, you've just come after solving the question. You already have thought of this. You just have to tell me what you thought. Okay. C, E, E. Okay. A. All right. So I can see the confusion, where it started. For people saying A, that AC is equal to BD, you're saying that the diagonals are equal. Is it a rectangle? Everybody who said A. Have I given in the question that it's a rectangle? No. Then everybody who marked A, you assumed that this is a rectangle. And that's why you thought, okay, if it's a rectangle, the diagonals are equal. A is the one. So you already know where you faltered. Assumption. It's a big killer, honestly. So many people lose precious GMAT points to assumption. Figure can be deceptive, yes. Things that look like things, you don't have to just assume it's a rectangle. It's just and just look at what the question is saying. It's saying it's a quadrilateral ABCD. If they meant for it to be a rectangle, for you to take the information, they would have said in the rectangle ABCD. But no, you just trusted the figure. It's a big, big point, something you have to be very careful about. So there is nothing you can say here. E. Good, everybody who said E. Very happy to see that actually the majority did say E in the chat box at least. Now, so there is no special linkage between the diagonals. We don't know what these are. The question was about comparing AB and BC. We need a definite yes or a definite no. Okay, so diagonal wise, we got nothing. Let's see if the statements and what the statements can give us. But what all do we need then? 1. Properties of diagonals of different types of quadrilaterals. You people right now made a mistake in exactly that. Diagonal of a triangle, of a rectangle is what you assumed to this. Read this. Not assuming information from the figure unless specifically, explicitly specified. Okay, angles appear to be right angles, but we can't say that. They look like 90 degrees here, all of them. I know why. Of course it looks like a rectangle, but again, figures can be deceptive. That one comment in the chat box, I think you summarized it really well. Here now, statement 1. EC is 5. What do you think you can tell? Again, come into the chat box. Okay, very different answers. Some people say AE plus EC is AC. That means the second one. Some people say E. There's no E here. Come on. Some people say the fourth one. None of the above. Some people say the first one. AE is 5. Okay. So did anybody say the third one as well? Yeah, somebody said the third one as well. AC is 10. Well, after what I just said, that you should not assume things, you did just that. The moment I said you should not assume things, the moment after that I asked you a question and you still assume. Who told you that E is the midpoint of the diagonal? Does the question give us that anywhere? Everybody who marked 1 or 2 or, 1 or 3, where does the question say it bisects it? Or do you realize what you did? You again assumed, despite my warning on the previous question that assumption is a big problem, you assumed again. Be careful. The only thing you can say here is that AE plus EC is AC. Yes, because it's a straight line. But I don't know AE is 5. If I don't know AE is 5, I can no way say that AC is 10. Right? You again fell into the trap. Be careful. This is why GMAT is such an interesting exam. It's not difficult, super difficult, or it doesn't ask things that you've never heard of before. It's just about us not being careful, us falling into familiar traps, sometimes assuming things, sometimes missing things given in the question. We just get things wrong because we are not careful. So here then, if EC is 5, I don't know anything about the quadrilateral. I don't know anything about the diagonal. I can't say anything about AE. Nothing about AB. Nothing about BC. AB, of course, I have the length, but I can't say anything. It's not sufficient. Training the brain to question every time. Yes, every time you do something, ask yourself, am I assuming something? Ask yourself that. AC is a diameter. Diameters, this term is used only for circles. You can't have a diameter here. It's a diagonal, yes. But I don't know anything about E, the point E. You again just assumed. So 9% people who marked A, 26% people who marked D, you just assumed it. That makes it 35% of us who just assumed this. Take this learning very seriously. You're really going to thank the session later on for opening your eyes into this. Statement 2 now. Let's think about this. Perimeter of AEB, this triangle, greater than perimeter of BEC, the other triangle. What do you think you can say? About the sides of ABCD from this shaded part. Yes, BD and AC are both diagonals, but you don't have any properties. No, again, see, somebody said it's a square or a rectangle. Who said that? Oh, I'm sorry, you're using this. Sorry, I thought we were still talking about the previous part. Yes, now, since I know all interior angles are right angles, it is definitely a square or a rectangle. So can I say all sides are equal? No. Can I say opposite sides are equal though? Opposite sides are definitely equal. Whether it's a square or a rectangle, opposite sides have to be equal. That's something I can definitely say. Okay, now here, because of all of this information together, ABCD is a rectangle. Now the thing that you had assumed in the beginning of the question, this is where you get that. Just see how you need that 200% conceptual clarity to draw the correct inferences. Otherwise, you'll just fall into traps. And those traps you know are going to take you to wrong answers. Right? Now, if it's ABCD, a rectangle, then you have all of your properties of rectangles to use. So you know the diagonals are going to be equal, you know the diagonals are going to bisect each other. This is when you will be able to say things. But of course, I don't have that 5 thing here. That was the first statement. Right now though, perimeter of AEB greater than that of BEC, that just means sum of the three sides here is greater than the three sides there. This time I have a lot that I can say. Why? The green entities will get cancelled out. This side and this side. See why? AE plus EB, AE plus EB, this much, and BE plus EC. That's what I have. The thing is that AE and EC are equal. So this AE and this EC cancel out. Similarly, EB and BE, that's anyway the same thing, EB and BE. So all you have is AB greater than BC. You get a definite answer. The correct answer is B. 32% of you got the correct answer. And in fact, the first time you did this, you had a better majority. You had a better percentage here. That means you started questioning yourself. You started doubting yourself. Tell me in the chat box, what happened? Why were you confused? Everybody who marked anything other than B, what exactly happened? Come into the chat box and tell me. Oh, we already have 4, 5. Everybody said assumed, assumed, assumed. Did not solve the perimeter, okay? So, what you did. If you didn't solve for the perimeter, this was just translation. This English had to be changed to math. You just had to write it this way. Then infer everything that you got, right? Oh well, the main problem was assumption, right? More people were there previously, can't say with certainty, perform better. Yeah, that's also a good point. So here then, use conceptual clarity to draw inferences. Inferences will guide you through the solution. You go from one step to the next with the right inferences. One incorrect inference you make and you're gone. It's the wrong path. Do not make assumptions. In geometry, I think this is the prettiest result of all. Assumptions. Because everybody does that. Be very careful. This is what it takes to score a Q50. It's not just concepts. But of course, as I said, that's the foundation. It's concepts plus process skills plus GMAT skills. You saw 3 stages here. Conceptual questions were when we were just asking for the properties of quadrilaterals. Process skill questions, then we've seen 2 till now. Then we saw a higher level application in GMAT skill questions. We've seen 3 of those already. You need all of that. This here, concept 1 practice quiz, concept 2. This part is to build your conceptual learning. This part here, process skills, a learning activity, a practice quiz, process skills again. This is to sharpen your process skills. And then finally, do you get ready for higher order application in GMAT skills. This is when you're totally in it, ready for GMAT exams, for the exam. So takeaway number 1. Which list? You mean this? Oh, this is on the course. This is a snapshot of how a module in the course looks like. Okay. So as I said, it's all broken down. Concepts, process skills, GMAT skills. Takeaway number 1 is that you should learn content in a progressive manner. That's what will take you to success. Your session today was also very progressive. Started with concepts. We went to process skills. Then we did the hard questions. Okay. I'm going to talk about GMAT Q49 plus scores that have been reported on GMAT-level. Let me just give you some proof. Look at this beautiful data here. 133 success stories, Q49 plus scores in 2021, by the way. This is latest data. 133 by e-GMAT. And just see all of these other test prep companies, when you combine them, they're still way behind this 133. So data talks for itself. You can trust this. Let me ask you this question. What is your current quant target score? Let me see if I have a poll for this one. 1 second. Yeah. Now let's just mark this on a poll. That'll be easier for us all to read. Here's a poll set for this. I'm just going to clear this up. Okay, mark it here. What's your current quant score, the target? Sorry, this is the current score. This is where you're at right now. Okay, so we have where you are right now again. I messed up when I was saying it the first time. Where are you right now? Okay, make sure everybody has their answers here. Okay, I want to understand what the group is currently at. What's the stage? Where are we building up from? Okay, so I'm going to end the poll. 36%, the majority, is below Q35. That means there are conceptual gaps, honestly. 35, if you're below that, you first build concepts. Okay, if you've just started, have you never taken a diagnostic test? I would encourage you to go to the e-GMAT website and take a Sigma X mock. It's a mock test and you'll know where you are right now. Okay. And then we have 35 to 42, 43 to 47. We have all kinds of people. Nobody is there at Q50 or 51. But as you see again, maximum people are below the 42 mark. So there are things that you need to work. Now understand that when there's a lot to do, every segment here, the below 35 segment, the 35 to 42 segment, and 48 to 49, do you guys think you have to do the same thing in your preparation? Or do you understand that it has to be different things for different people? Before I say anything, what do you think? Should you all be given the same path? Come on, waiting in the chat box. Well, each of you needs a unique solution. Yeah, good. Customization. We don't wear same size of clothes. That's nice. Each one different. Yes, because all of us are so different, we need different solutions. Everybody here will need a unique solution. Now the GMAT geometry course on e-GMAT, you have 76 learning activities, which is in total 40 hours of content. Now when it's a Q30 student, he will need all 76 activities. But when it's a Q45 student, he will need just 30 activities. And when it's a Q49 student, he will need 12 activities. Do you just see the difference? From 76 to 30 to 12. It's very, very, very specific to what you have to do. Different needs, different activities, different courses. From that one course, you can create so many. Depending on your ability, you need different courses. That was the second takeaway. And then, how do we personalize this? Through AI. First of all, I told you about the two kinds of diagnostics, right? One was the GMAT skill diagnostic, one was the concept diagnostic. It'll tell you right in the beginning which are the things that you have to do from the rest of it, which are the things you're eligible to skip. So again, you will understand that if there are 4 modules with a total of 76 activities, in these 4 modules, learning paths possible, basically based on what you skip, what you do, there are 5 paths possible for every module. So if there are 4 modules, 5 possibilities for each of them, then 5 and 5 and 5 and 5 makes it 625 courses. So 625 different people can all have their own unique course. Now you're doing this course, for example. How do you know you've excelled? How do you know it? You need feedback, right? You will get that constantly through the course. Evaluation and feedback. Every learning activity will give you feedback. Every activity is going to tell you what happened. What are you going to do? Where do you have to improve? Okay. This expert evaluates your performance. You see this? 100%, 40%, 60%. You get scores like this. So you know when you have a 40%, you know this is a problem area. This is where you have to work. So you are assessed on everything. You do your concept, complete your concept. We see how much time you spent on your concept. Then we see the score that you had. First of all, did you open it? Did you complete it? Did you spend enough time on it? Or did you just rush? Or what score did you get? Every single parameter is tested. A green thing is when you've learned perfectly, you can go on. Yellow means you need some revision. There are some issues. But red will tell you that you have to redo it. It's that level of feedback. Now just read these very promising testimonials. This is by Varun. He got a 740 on the GMAT. So many of you would want that, right? The feedback, he says, told him where he had to revise. He was able to improve to a Q49, even though he had no time to go through Scholaranium, which is he did not get to practice a lot of questions. This is again Anant, GMAT 750. Diagnostic told him that he needed to focus on GMAT skills and process skills, not the concepts, and that too in algebra and geometry. So the course then told him that these are the two he has to do. He did those. And then he says, with this architecture, doesn't matter where you are right now. You just start, go your own path to success. Now here, 760. She says, quant course cleared my concepts, taught me how to apply them on GMAT questions, not just ABCs, as you know. So now with this, now that you've seen proof that this is working, again, understand that the session today is based on a similar pattern. We'll continue to improve your process skills. I'm going to bring in the third process skill question now. You've done two, and based on them, you've seen the hard questions that we had in the beginning also, right? Now I'm going to bring in process skill question number 3. 1 second. Here is the poll. You know the drill. You mark still solving, and then I'll know how many people are actively engaged. Okay. Come on, we still have quite a few participants, but the still solving people, very few. You are going to determine the time, remember. Here's the third one. Good luck. Ending the poll in 10 seconds. Okay, here are the results. Majority went with E. Let's discuss and see what the correct answer is. A border of uniform width is placed around a square photograph. So here's the square photograph first of all. The border will be placed around this. The photograph has a side length of N and the width of the border is P. Okay, so let's try to see how this will look. So this is the border, okay, in green. This is what you see on the sides around the square photograph, which is in the middle. Now, the side of the photograph, as we said, was N. So this is N. All four of them are N's because it's a square. Now, also the width of the border is P, which means all of these here, this is all P. So this will create a new figure around it, right? You will have something bigger. So what all have we done here? Which of the following represents the area, first of all? So we need the area of the whole thing. Which of the following represents the area of the border is what we need to find out. Okay. Now this way we've visualized it. We've drawn how this is going to look, which will make our working super simple. Now, from the area of the entire section, I have to do something to get what I want. What do I want? Area of the border. What I have to do simply is to subtract the area of the square. That's whitened now. So it goes out. We only need the blue part. This will be the area of the border. So now we've understood what is it that we need to calculate. Okay. What can you infer about the photo with the border? Mark this. Okay. Yes, it is a square. Because of course, if this small side was n, and now you're adding p on this side, p on this side, then it's a new square with n plus 2p as the side, right? So with the square photo, length was n. The photo with the border, the length is n plus 2p. Now, the width, of course, is also going to be the same because they're squares. So the areas are these. Why I'm doing the area is because I already know area of the border will be area of the big square minus area of the small square. So anyway, I need both of my areas. Now you see both of the areas written here, just the photograph and the photograph with the border. So then you subtract it, big area minus small area. You open this first one through the identity, a plus b whole squared. You simplify it and it's choice E. So the majority did get this correct, 39% of you though. So it's not a very big majority. 22% people who went with D. What did you do? You had 4 times p squared minus n squared. That's not this. That'll be 4 times p plus n, p minus n. Just see which step of the calculation you messed up on. Similarly, we have 17% votes for C. In C, what happened is the only difference is that this is 2 instead of 4, right? So be careful. Yes, or it is 4pn plus 4p squared. So be very careful. You have to translate information bit by bit. You have to visualize things, draw them out, infer them, and then simplify your calculations carefully. Based on this, then, you have to now prove yourself on the hard 700 level question that you had seen in the beginning. Okay, I'm going to bring that poll here now. Make sure you use what you learned here in this process skill question and improve your accuracy. I have the data for how you voted the first time. But again, as we know, the people participating has changed. So the poll is open. Please mark still solving. Then I'm going to show you that question again. All right, here you go. Good luck. Ending the poll in 10 seconds. Alright, here are the results. Again, a confused vote. A and D is on a tie. B, C followed next, and E has the fewest number of votes. And this time it's a big difference from how you voted the first time. So if at all the votes changed in the direction of the correct answer, we'll be happy. So let's discuss this first. So a border of uniform width W is placed around a rectangle R to create a bigger rectangle S. The difference between the perimeters is 16. What's the perimeter of S, the bigger one? So if the length of R, the smaller rectangle, if the length of that is A, what do you think is the length of S? Time to come into the chat box. A plus, yes, good. A plus 2W, because W will be on two sides when you're increasing it by a border. So this is how it's going to look. Length was A, now it's A plus 2W. If the width was B, the width now will be B plus 2W. So this way we've written the old and the new lengths and the widths. Difference between the perimeters is 16. So we first of all need to find the perimeters. So here are the expressions for the perimeters. Now, if the difference between them is 16, it just means big perimeter minus small perimeter is 16. You simplify this and you get the value of W. This was the first piece of information you get by all of this solving. You get a proper value here. So if the width is 2, you know exactly the width of the border. So the bigger length and the bigger width can now be written in terms of A and B only. The W goes away. You don't have another variable to deal with. So therefore the final perimeter is this. The big perimeter is this, which is what you need to find out. The perimeter of S, right? So this is what we want. Now understand that to find this thing, A plus B, you need what all? So this time, instead of me telling you, because you've seen so many questions, tell me what you need. What will you need to, okay, let's go back here. What do you need to find this? Do you need A and B specifically, or will something else also work? Because this is the first thing you have to understand. You have to understand what is to be found out. Yes, good. So if at all we manage to find A plus B, that's also good. Either we find A or B separately or A plus B. Good. Here's now statement 1. Area of the border is 52. Area of the border again. What information do you need to find the area of the border? Choose the choice here. Three, sum of A and B. So if I give you the sum of A and B, you will be able to get the area of the border. Look here. Area of the border is what? It's the big area minus the small area. So we know first of all that is 52. You need both of the areas for that, right? Now when you simplify this, you would see you need A plus B. So as you've written here, the product, some people wrote AB, the product also, some people wrote A plus B. Look at this manipulation to understand that A plus B is what you're getting from this first statement. For the area of the border, you needed the product, but you didn't exactly need it because you already had the 52 value. But yes, if you were to find it, then you would need the product. So this one does give you A plus B, so this is sufficient. So I'm very happy that A and D, the percentage for that has gone up. At least the first statement is sufficient. Let's see what happens beyond this. Statement 2 now, I'm again going to ask you something, so listen carefully. S, the bigger rectangle, can also be obtained if each of the longer sides of the smaller rectangle R is increased by 80% and the shorter sides is increased by 100%. So you tell me, If the longer side of R is A and shorter side is B, what will the longer and the shorter sides of S be? Choose this choice based on the percentage information that you have. Remember, longer side is increased by 80%. Shorter, yes, good, it's A. Oh, I can see all of that work we did in that percentage question earlier. It's working now. So this way then, rectangle R, you have length and width. Rectangle S, you have the new length because of an 80% increase. And the width is 2B because of a 100% increase. Now, this is all of our information. Is there any other relationship that you can get between the sides of the rectangle? Yes or no? Just say Y or N. Yes. What is that? Okay, yes and no. We have both things here. Well, we do have information from the question stem. Remember the border? All of that thing that you had earlier? Yeah. You already know that this 1.8A, which is the bigger length, is A plus 4 because the width was 2. Yes, with the width of the border. That's how you have it. So that way, and similarly in width, 2B is the same as B plus 4. So this way then you have two nice equations using which you can get A and B, and you can get A plus B. So choice D is the correct answer because we could get A plus B from here as well. The correct answer is D. Now you see 28% of you marked D and 28% marked A. So everybody who was in A, the only mistake you made was you did not think the second one was sufficient. So something you probably did not recall that when you were doing statement 2, you did not remember to use the width relationship from the question stem. Tell me if I'm right here. The main problem is with those who've marked C and E. You would need a little more work with this question. Spend time to understand where you faltered. But this is a better result from what we had the first time. The first time we had 22% votes for C and 11% for E. That was 33% people. But now between C and E, we just have 17% people. So that number has halved. Half of you now went with C and E. So that's really good news. Okay. Now there's nothing new, as you saw. The question that you do in a process skill file versus the question that you see in a GMAT skill file, you're just applying the process skills carefully. You keep going on and on. You translate it bit by bit. You visualize everything there is. You make inferences. You simplify as you're going. Don't scare yourself with too much information at once. Keep simplifying. Oh no, I'm not always right. I can make mistakes and I would love for you to help me find those out. Achieving mastery is about going one step at a time. So wherever you're starting from, take that first step. So all of you who are already 2.0 students, this is your path to a Q49 plus score. Go through the course, go through the quant course, follow the expert architecture. Whatever it tells you to do, whatever it tells you that you have to do, make sure you do it. Whatever it says you can skip, you may skip that, but otherwise don't risk it. Master process skills and then go into GMAT skill files. Now these are the 4 modules that you have in geometry. This is a complete screenshot of all of that. These are the 4 modules: lines and angles, 2D1, 2D2, geometric combinations, and 3D. For the free trial users also, even if you're not students, take the free trial. Go and experience this for yourself. Evaluate whether this style works for you or not. You know, doing concepts, then doing applications. See if this course works for you. And then consider purchasing the course. I'm so confident you go to the free trial. Even the trial itself is going to give you so much that you would understand the value. So free trial users, you are going to see module 2. You will not have access to the full course, but you will be able to see the first 8 activities in the second module of geometry. Okay, so all the best with all of this information. Make sure you watch the recording of the session, see where you faltered, redo things, and watch the files that we had sent your way in the beginning, go through the course, free trial or students, and then make use of all of this magic, make use of all of this content that's there for you. Okay, all the very best. See you again in another session. Good day.